All right, we're doing this thing. We're rolling. Mock number 2 today is just about to get underway here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespris, and I'm going to be slightly distracted by a baseball game in the background, but I don't care. We're doing a mock draft. Whether baseball likes it or not, I have the number 9 pick in this one. Thought I'd keep switching it up little by little, change the picks, change the spot. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. If you were following on Twitter at Dan Vespris, that's how you got the message that a mock was happening. And that is how you ended up floating in to this one. So make sure you're following on social media if you want to be alerted when we're filling the next room. And they are, by the way, filling up in about 60 or 70 seconds right now. It's happening real fast. At Old Man Squad is the feed for the network. Please do remember to like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll remind you again mid-show, possibly end show, maybe both, because that is how we continue to grow this behemoth. And a mock starts in about a minute and 20 seconds. I don't know who I'm going to get at the 9 hole. I think there's a chance that I'll be choosing between Embiid and Tatum, Trae Young, Kevin Durant. I don't know who's going to be precisely there. Twitter really wants me to do a assist build. So Trae Young, either you lean super hard into the guard or you kind of flip it and try to pair him up with a big man early. It's not my favorite build. I don't like going ultra guard heavy. I know that it's pretty common these days, but I don't know. There's just so many intriguing big man options later on that I hate to think that I'm creating a team where all the guys that I think are values become somewhat worthless. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. An Embiid build is always complicated in its own right because you're building around a dude who you expect to miss a bunch of ball games. But damn, if he isn't good at a lot of stuff when he's actually out on the court. So we shall see. Draft starts in now 15 seconds. This is our second mock of the day. I don't know if I'm going to have time for a third. I had these pipe dreams of doing 3 mocks today. Recording them while doing them is the part that takes a little bit more time. Maybe we'll have one that airs first thing tomorrow morning or something like that. Anyway, draft is on. I've got a few moments here before it gets to me down at number 9. I'll try to flip the draft board up basically after my second round pick, because right now I'd like to see the names flip off. I can read them to you. You don't need to see the whole board at once. Plus, the first 4 are basically the same with a couple of minor flips. Jokic goes before Wemby in this one. Shea goes before Luka in this one. So a couple of little tiny flips, but the same top 4 as always. So now we get into who comes in the next chunk. Anthony Davis goes at 5 in an interesting twist, so he ain't making it back. Halliburton at 6. This will probably be Giannis at 7, but I guess we'll see. I just did a Giannis punt free throw build the last time around. So if you want to see that, that's the last video. Tatum goes 7, Giannis goes 8. So I'm debating between Embiid, Kevin Durant, and Trae Young. We'll go ahead and we'll do Trae Young. We'll do the guard build just to see what happens. And yeah, go from there. Okay. I'm going to leave it on the player names just for a moment. Apologies to the folks watching the video feed that were hoping to see the board. So Embiid goes right behind me at pick number 10. Now it'll probably be Kevin Durant and Steph, but we'll see. That's been the sort of running mode these days. Guys that I have my eye on in the second round, guys that would fit the same build, would obviously be Steph, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. Whoops, I clicked LaMelo Ball. I don't really want to take a shot on LaMelo. I don't trust the health. I know that if it lands, he'd be a hell of a guard pairing with Trae Young. I don't have the confidence that it's going to land. So I'll probably lean into someone who doesn't have glass ankles, older by a lot. I didn't expect Steph to get back to me. I just throwing names on the board here. If I don't get the guys that I'm eyeballing, things get a little bit more complicated. I don't know that I'd go much farther down the board. Some of these other names here don't really fit it. Sabonis is, again, more of that, lower per game. So there goes Harden. Steph and Harden went 12 and 13. So now I'm really down to the nubs. Devin Booker might end up being the play because I don't think I want to go small big. I want to make sure the guy I'm getting is not only fitting the build, but also has a whole bunch of per game appeal. LaMelo goes 15. So it's back to me. I don't have anybody in my queue. I don't want Kyrie, so I'll put Booker in there just because. I don't know that the rest of these guys have a chance to really beat him. Dame would be another one that's kind of similar build. I have a steals issue almost no matter where I go with this one. Booker, Lillard, whatever. Dame, Booker probably a bit more efficient, but if I'm going hard punting or hard guard stats, maybe Dame makes more sense. So we'll go Damian Lillard here in the second round. It's a really early place to take him. But, in terms of build, I'm basically punting field goal percent. Turnovers is not a lock to be punted. Dame is not that bad there. Trae is, but other teams are going to have some pretty dang high field or turnover guys also. Now I'll throw the draft board up on the screen so you guys can see where everybody's gone. Scotty Barnes goes after me. And I get it. 16 is early for Dame, but I don't hate it. I mean, I wouldn't do it if I wasn't throwing away field goal percent, because that's really the reason that he saw his value taper off last year. And you can play the, I'll watch the punt board, see what's happening. Dame very much was a turn value kind of guy if you were punting field goal percent last year. Right next to LaMelo and Paul George. These guys were all right in that zone. So now the issue is I've got a team that's very good at scoring and threes and assists and free throw percent. I've got 4, but I got to make sure that I get either the other guard stat, so that would be steals, or start to shore up something else. I can't have a team that's only good at 4 of the 9 categories. Now, it's very, very good at those 4 right now, but it's pretty miserable at the other ones. So what then? You start to ask yourself, what's the easiest other thing to do? Steals, probably the simplest, since you can continue to go into this guard build. Or you could go with a big that doesn't block shots. So you go on the rebounding big man side, a big man who's not, say, bad at free throw shooting. You don't give away your advantage. You're not coming back in shot blocking. You sort of throw that one away. And maybe that's the path. By the way, the players in the second round after me, Barnes, Anthony Edwards, Chet, Devin Booker, Sabonis, goes at 21, Kyrie 22, Paul George 23, and now waiting on finishing up. So LeBron finishes up the second round. In a couple of picks, I'm going to flick back. You know what? I'm actually going to do it now. I'll flick back to the player board. The guys that would make sense for my team here in the third round. Now, again, it depends. Do I want to continue to lean even harder into this build? Because someone like a Freddie VanVleet would be a brilliant fit in a punt field goal team. And he gives you a big bump in steals, but is he too low of a scoring type to make sense? Jalen Brunson, Kawhi Leonard, first couple players off the board. Now Lauri Markkanen as well. Lauri's not a bad choice in this, although it does, again, kind of leave the steals spot open. VanVleet is probably your best steals guy still floating around. If you wanted to go big man and shore up more rebounds and continue to lean into threes and scoring, Cat probably makes sense towards the end of the third round. He's a good fit for this build. So you start to get yourself back in play in rebounds, not hyper competitive yet, but you're saying, look, I'm not throwing this away. De'Aaron Fox goes at 28. Again, there's this continued, you're seeing all the punt guys doing their thing. DeJounte Murray at 29 wouldn't have been a bad choice for my type of build. Şengün at 30 would have made almost no sense. And there goes Freddie VanVleet at 31. So that changes things up a little bit. Cade would be a good fit for this build, tripling down on the guards, but a better steals guy. I would expect Cade to be over 1 per ball game. JJJ goes 32. Now I'm trying to debate, do I want to go the Cat route with the efficient big man, or do I want to go Cade and just keep pushing into this same build? I'd be leaning Cade, probably. Cade, Cat are kind of the 2 guys I'm looking at here. I don't think either one gets back to me in the 4th round. So I'm going to have to be comfortable with passing up on somebody. I'll go Cade because I think Cat's going to miss 20 games again. He's been messy from the injury side. So we're going heavy guard. We've knocked out the guards early. My assists are great. My scoring's great. My threes are great. My free throw percent is great. My steals are barely competitive. Turnovers are bad. Field goal percent is bad. Blocks are pretty bad. Cade will get a handful, but again, not much. So I got to get something, presumably in this next group here, that addresses one of those issues, or two of them, preferably. Probably steals and something, or rebounds and something, or something like that. And the players that make sense are, again, still Cat. Jalen Johnson is still on the board. He's not a great foul shooter, but I got enough there to cover up whatever he doesn't do. But Jalen Johnson's going to get defensive stats, so that's kind of interesting. Jalen Williams would be a fun one in the 4th round. Addresses steals. Very efficient, so maybe doesn't make the most sense for my team, but also extremely hard to pass up on a player like that at 40. I don't know how much farther down the board I'd be willing to go here when you start to think, okay, maybe I'll get some of these guys coming back my direction. Bam at 34, Maxey 35, Towns at 36. So Cat is off the board, as we assumed he would be. Maxey going at 35 is kind of interesting. That's actually a pretty reasonable spot for him. And Miles Turner's not the worst idea in the world. He's a big man who scores a little bit and blocks a bunch of shots. So maybe it's blocks that I start to attack as opposed to rebounds. But you have to make sure you get a bunch of blocks from guys that don't tank your free throw percent. And as you get later and later in this thing, the shot blockers are bad foul shooters or terrible at scoring. So I at some point I'm going to have to make that critical decision, which is do I want to go the shot blocking route? Jalen Williams off the board. So my entire queue just got wiped out. Miles Turner is now my top choice here. Derek White's not a bad option since you get a smattering of everything. You kind of can't go wrong there. Jimmy Butler would kind of be my first risk, and he's a great steals guy, and he continues to lean into what my team is good at. Do I dare risk it? My team is relatively healthy so far. Well, I just got auto-drafted Miles Turner. I was actually about to switch it over and take Jimmy Butler, but it's too late now. So now my team is still good at free throw shooting, and now suddenly back in the mix in blocked shots. Miles Turner, not terrible at steals either, for whatever that's worth. Like, he's not going to get a ton, but he'll be a handful of steals. All right. So problems now. Problems are not the main things that Trae, Cade, and Dame are good at. Those I'm still in pretty good shape in those. Field goal percent is probably something I'm kind of throwing into the breeze. Rebounds now look like something that I should probably throw into the breeze as well. So I should be looking at free throw, points, threes, assists are the 4 obvious ones. And I'm killing 2 things off basically. So of the 3 things that are left, which is rebounds, blocks, and turnovers, what are the easiest 2 to pair? Did I say steals in there? I may have. I lost track of my 9 categories. Oops. Here's the draft board, by the way, while we're talking about this other stuff. So again, my team is very good at the 4 guard stats, which is free throw, points, threes, and assists. My team is very bad at, I would say, rebounds. Pretty terrible, because now I have a center and it's still bad at rebounds. And probably field goal percent, although Miles does help that a little bit. So turnover is also not very good, but because of taking Miles Turner, a low turnovers guy who does shoot a little bit better, those are not completely dead in the water. Rebounds is dead in the water. The ones that are close to dead in the water are turnovers and rebounds. And then blocks is now alive once again, as is steals should be alive, although that's, again, a thing I probably need to deal with. And probably something I don't want to lose, given I've leaned small guys. And small guys should be okay at getting steals, hypothetically. The rest of the 4th round, by the way, after my Miles Turner pick, it went Paolo Banchero, Evan Mobley, White, Derek White, John Morant, Jared Allen, Jaylen Brown, Rudy Gobert, and Jamal Murray. The 5th round starts with Jalen Duren and Jimmy Butler. All right, so I got a handful of picks coming before me, but again, as we talked about here, there's a few things I gotta think about. Steals would be one of them. That's an area of attack. Blocks would be an area of attack. I could go both. Defensive stats. Rebounds are probably cooked. Field goal percent feels like kind of a dumb thing to attack right now, but not completely dead. So leaning towards someone who can score that does also get defensive stats, and preferably not a very bad free throw shooter, preferably. My team can withstand a little bit of it, but I'd rather not go down that path. So as you look at the guys coming up on the board, at least, that fit this mold, Mikal Bridges would be one of them. He'll score a little bit, hit threes. He's going to get you some steals and a little bit of the block shot stuff. Darius Garland is a guard that gets you steals and assists and continues to kind of lean into what my team is already good at. I don't know that I go the Zach LaVine route. I've been relatively healthy team so far. Here they come, though. Quickly, Zion, Siakam, there goes Garland, so he didn't make it to me. That was one that was definitely on the radar. Devin Vassell's not a bad one for steals and threes. Not much in the way of blocked shots. I don't know that I would venture too much farther down the board because I'll have another pick coming back 6-7 picks later. So we got to be somewhat judicious in trying to figure out how to make sure players come back around to me. I'm not big into Miles Bridges. I know he'll get a little bit of both. So there goes Claxton. So I'm looking at Mikal Bridges as likely my pick here. I'll go ahead and just throw him in the mix. He fits the build nicely. It gets me a nice chunk of steals, a couple of blocks, continues to be good at the stuff I'm good at. Rebounds is pretty much dead, and so I don't care that he's only going to probably get 4.5 boards a game. He'll get a couple of assists. He'll score a little bit. Not a ton. I mean, New York, that's not going to be his job, but that's okay. Franz goes 58, Miles Bridges goes 59, and Vooch, actually, as a center, probably would have made some sense on my team, although I'm really not looking at rebounding, and that's one of his strong suits. Let's see how we do here starting off the next one. Where are we going? Tobias Harris, 61, Brandon Ingram, 62, one more pick before me. Vassell is definitely a player I'm looking at. Cam Thomas is catching my eye. It's really early to go Cam Thomas. But again, this particular punt, there is a certain measure of joy in that. Brooke Lopez would be like doubling down on Miles Turner. So just a crap ton of blocks from a weirdly shaped center. I don't know. I mean, it really comes down to what I think is more important right now. Keep building on what I'm building or get myself back in the mix in one other category. It's hard to pass up on Vassell, who's going to be pretty good across the board. The steals are probably more important than the blocks. So that's likely the direction I'm leaning here. Yeah, we'll go Devin Vassell. Whoops. Auto-picked. Right as I was about to click it. Auto-picked for me. Ah, well. Anywho. Onward and upward. I had to respond to a text message, but I guess that was the perfect time for these various sites to insert an advertisement. All right, let's bring up the draft board again so you guys can see what everybody looks like. My team right now is Trae Young, Damian Lillard, Cade Cunningham, Miles Turner, Mikal Bridges, Devin Vassell. My one center is a good free throw shooter and a shot blocker. I have given up on rebounds entirely. I don't know that my team is dead in turnovers. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Trae Young, you just punt, field goal, point, turnover. I do have Cade also. So I'm not going to be good at them. But, I'll beat a team with Embiid and LaMelo Ball some of the time. I'll beat a team with frickin' Wemby. I'll beat a team with Luka and Sabonis in turnovers some of the time. You don't have to totally mail it in that category. You in head-to-head, you pretty much do have to mail it in something if you want to try to win a playoff matchup. And so that's why I've just said the hell with it on rebounds at this point. I'm going to need another center. Again, targeting a center that either scores or assists or blocks shots, probably blocks being the way to go on it. Because I've already gone Miles Turner, even though I almost clicked Jimmy Butler on that one. You guys can see this round after my Vassell. Giddey, Bradley Beal, Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, Cam Thomas goes at number 69. And now Mark Williams at 70. That's a nice place to get Mark Williams. He doesn't fit my team all that well, although he's not bad. I just don't need his rebounds, but he's an okay foul shooter. D'Lo goes 71. He would have been a guy that kind of fit this build. if need be. Let's see. What do we got here? All right. Well, it's starting to loop back around towards me. So let me pull up the wall again. Brook Lopez is still out there. If I wanted to get more Miles Turner, just the older Miles Turner. Ayton and Tyler Hero finish up and then start the next round. Drew Holiday goes at 74. That's pretty early on Holiday. Brook Lopez is getting close to not being available. McCollum is not a terrible pick for this build, although I really don't like CJ McCollum. I don't want to go. I don't want Pelicans. There goes Hartenstein. He would have been an interesting center for this build also. Pirtle is too bad at foul shooting, and I don't need the field goal percent of the rebounds, so we'll go a different way. I mean, JV's not a terrible choice here, but he also does stuff that I don't really need. So, the other move is take a power forward who's center eligible. That's how you kind of fill it up without having to go that more traditional route. That's if Brook Lopez isn't there. If Brook Lopez is there, he's the guy that fits this thing. Brandon Miller off the board at 76. Folks are starting to take a little bit longer to make their picks. Maybe they're also recording a podcast while they do their mock draft. It's taking too long. Let's go. Let's hustle. Oh, there goes Brook Lopez. All right, I got to rethink my strategy now. None of these guys really make a ton of sense for my team. Jalen Suggs goes 78. Now, Terry Rozier wouldn't be the worst idea. Trey Murphy wouldn't be the worst idea. Efficient, steals, some blocks guy, not a ton. And as much as I don't really necessarily want him bad, Jabari Smith Jr. would not be a terrible fit. So some points, some threes, couple of blocks. Do I want to go farther down and go blocks hunting? Naz Reid wouldn't be a bad fit. Maybe we'll wait a little longer on the big man. Running out of time. I probably should have had a cue lined up here. We'll go Jordan Poole and just really lean into it. Way too early on Poole, but this is what I get for basically talking through my draft slot. Poole at 81. Absolutely terrible pick. Terrible pick by Dan. Oh, well. We'll survive. Should have just gone Trey Murphy, but that's okay. I want the extra points. I want the extra assists. I got to make sure I stay strong in those. But I continue to not address the fact that I need defensive stats. There needs to be something else here that isn't here right now. And at some point, I'm just going to have to be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to finally take a guy who doesn't score, which I haven't really done yet. Which, I mean, that's great because head-to-head, you do a lot of that stuff. But Naz Reid is interesting for this build. Caruso gets you a bunch of defensive stats. Herb Jones, a bunch of defensive stats. I'm going to have to go in one of these directions. The question is, do I do it at center or do I do it with some other type of position? And I'm still... OG, by the way, also is in that same mold. Keegan Murray, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Austin Reeves, those are the guys off the board. So nobody's really getting in my way right now. My queue is still hefty, robust. I got plenty of names in it. I don't want these guys at the top of the board either. If I wasn't punting all the things that he's good at, Jakob Poeltl will be great in this range. Rozier's a little iffy. Trey Murphy's solid, but I think I'm good enough at his stuff. I don't think I need as many threes as he provides. So there goes Jabari Smith Jr. That was the option if I wanted to go big. So we'll go smaller. And the question is, Herb Jones or Alex Caruso? Which way to go? Which way to go? We'll go Herb, I think. Mostly for durability. But Herb Jones really does a nice job of addressing one of the massive gaping holes on my team. And that is that I badly needed more steals. Badly needed them. Because assists are fine. I have a bunch of guys that do that, specifically the top three, and then the other guys are all kind of getting a handful. I probably could use one more, like, medium assist dude down the stretch, but I also can't leave that last center spot completely abandoned. Let me show you guys the draft board, only for a few picks here, because it's getting a little goofy, and at some point I'm going to have to look back and actually set a longer queue. So Reeves was the start of the 8th round. Then it went Capella, Jabari Smith Jr., Herb Jones. That was me. Chris Paul at 89. Poeltl at 90. Trey Murphy, 91. Kuzma at 92. Everybody getting a good look at the draft board. Hey, remember, folks, as you're sitting, listening, watching, whatever, do the things that help. If you're listening, subscribe. Maybe take a second to drop that review. If you're watching, hit the like button. Subscribe as well. Get the job done. Come on, Joe. Let's hustle. RJ Barrett goes 93. None of you guys are okay. I need the rest of you guys in this mock to go faster. I'm the only one, I think, sitting here and trying to yammer about it while we're doing the thing. Porzingis goes 94. I don't want him even at 94. I know that's crazy, but I can't sit on a guy for half a year outside of a keeper league. Keeper league, go ahead. All right, let's go back to the player board now. I'm going to make it really small. YouTubers, you're not really going to be able to see it, but I can. So Caruso, Naz Reid are still on the board. I did address some of my issues. I don't want to recreate that problem. And I do still need someone who's center eligible. Naz Reid would be that guy. He's a lower percentages dude, but he gets steals, blocks, and threes, which is something that I need. And he's not a bad percentages guy. It's just lower. Not like atrocious. Okongwu is not a bad percentages guy. He's actually pretty good. Sort of not opposite of not bad. He's a very good one. And then if you go far enough down the board, I know he's floating around a long way from now, but like Daniel Gafford is not a bad foul shooter. He's not the best foul shooter, but he's also not terrible at it. So he's kind of like the backup to the backup to the backup plan here. I just don't want to end up with one of those centers that's shooting 55% at the foul line. That's what could really tank what's, I think, a relatively decent build so far. I still don't really know what I was doing with Jordan Poole, but, you know, if Brogdon goes down early and they go younger, that's something that could work out pretty well for my team. It's just a matter of, you know, does it happen early enough in the season? I don't want Middleton. His ankle surgery scares me. He hasn't been healthy in 3 years. Kobe White, by the way, went at 95. Then Bogdan Bogdanovic, John Collins, Terry Rozier, Ivica Zubats. That's 95 through 99 on the board. And my turn approaches. In terms of guys that fit sort of what we're doing here, as much as I hate Jalen Green's fantasy game, if you're punting field goal, he's not the end of the world. I still don't think I'm going that route, though. Mike Conley would not be a terrible late point guard to grab to get some more steals and threes and assists and just continue. Oh, and there he goes. Conley off the board at 101, Kessler at 100. So that blew up that plan in a moment. What else we got going on? I'm sure there's where do we go? Colin Sexton if we wanted to go a little farther down the board and get another point guard. Amen Thompson is someone that might not be perfect for this build, but he's just awesome. So I think I probably want him at some point. Question is, can I get him? Gary Trent, KCP are going to be decent fits for this build, believe it or not. Good steals and threes, guys, to shore up those categories late. Meaning I should probably be trying to address blocks a little bit more here. And do it without, again, smoking my team's free throw percent. So that's probably going to be Naz Reid. It would also take care of my hole at center. Is it my turn yet? It's my turn. All right, so I think it's Naz. If I didn't need a center, I would go Caruso or Anunoby right now because those guys are also good defensive stats dudes, but they're not center eligible. And I don't really want one of these other. Well, Caruso, Anunoby. I don't know. I mean, you're 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You probably get a little bit more scoring out of OG. All right, we'll go OG here at 105. So I'm going to roll the dice that I can get a center a round or two later. That's what I'm doing at this spot. Shame of it, too, is that I really want Amen Thompson. I might leave myself a whole lot of space to get him. At some point, I'm going to screw myself and dick around too long and then not get a center at all. Is that now? Perhaps. Did I screw off too long? Mitchell Robinson, then Jeremy Grant. I have a pick coming back here pretty soon. So do I go Thompson? Do I go Amen? I don't want to miss out on him. I think he could be a difference maker in steals and blocks. And I know he's a rebounder, which I don't really need. But damn, he's going to be so much fun. All right, I'm going to pass up on Amen Thompson. Oh, Marcus Smart. That's a pretty good pick for someone who's doing the same build as me. Forgot about him for this one. It was a reach. Someone had to go down the board a bit, but that's smart. Smart pick. Good play. I should have gotten him. I didn't scroll down far enough. Caruso and Naz are still there. I don't think I need to go Trent or KCP this soon. Gafford's still down there. So I got some room left. Draymond Green goes 110 after Keontae George at 109. Scoot at 111. Yeah, I mean, Scoot would have been a good fit for this build, too. All right. Do I lean farther into the defensive stats? Do I wait and try to get Gafford one later? All right, we're going to Amen Thompson, mostly just because he's going to be super awesome to have this year. Even if he makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for this team build. None. He's good at field goal percent, rebounds. I don't need either of those things. I don't care. When he comes out and he's just freaking gangbusters like 3 weeks into the year, I'll trade him. So just, take that under advisement. I don't plan on rostering him the entire season in this build. I want him in every other build, but I don't plan on rostering him in this particular build right now. Naz Reid goes right after me. 113, then Kuminga and Caruso right after that. So my queue is now getting steam trained. It took a little longer than I expected, but bye-bye all the players I was looking at. Bobby Portis has center eligibility, but there's no blocks there. That's more rebounds and scoring. So no. Dennis Schroeder would be a point guard. You could go late in this build as a low field goal percent. Minimal threes and steals, but again, I'm hoping I've mostly taken care of that here later on with the Herb Jones, Devin Vassell, OG Anunoby, Amen Thompson. Oh, there goes Gafford. All right, that screws me up a bit. Lively, Jalen Green, Daniel Gafford, 117, 118, 119. Oh boy, that's rough. Okay. I may not end up with a second center on this team. Oops, screwed it up. All right, it might be Al Horford. Just quiet producer. Don't screw anything up, Big Al. Schroeder goes 120. Trace Jackson Davis 121. So this is where the Dan Besbris sleeper pile is all getting scooped all at once. We're in the 11th round, so there's a little bit left here, a little meat left on the bone in this draft. And there are not many names left. Dyson Daniels would have been one I could have gone if I was still lacking for steals, but that's been shored up a little bit. Oh, you know what I got? I got a PJ Washington card up my sleeve. Good steals, good blocks, bad percentages, but there's almost nothing that I could do at this point that would ruin my free throw percent. This team's free throws are out of this universe high. You can see on the Yahoo board, it's rated as 85% of the foul line. I don't know, Team Jose is rated at 86.7, so I guess maybe a good battle with that team. I mean, don't look at the rankings there because that's a roto rank. When you're punting a couple of things, you're never going to be at the top of the roto ranks. Norman Powell at 122, Shaden Sharp at 123. Come on, Joe. I got Joe. Joe's grinding it to a halt. Whoa, now we're flying. Tari Eason, 124. Aaron Gordon, 125. Al Horford, 126. Zach Edey, 127. Bobby Portis, 128. And now it's my turn. I got to get that last center spot. So I'm going PJ Washington and the system. Oh, is he not center eligible anymore? Whoops. Oh, well. All right, well, I wet farted on that one. So I don't have a second center. That was a terrible pick. I should have just taken Gary Trent or KCP with that one. Because now I have to take a center with my last play. Or second to last play, I guess. I don't have to do it on the very last one. But there's nobody left. Wendell Carter Jr., Kelly Olynyk, Andre Drummond, Marvin Bagley, Zach Collins. I mean, the centers are straight up terrible right now. They're just like, there aren't even starters left. Which means I probably should take the guy that I need more. And I mean, if at this point, like, all right, Andrew Nembhard goes 130, Neesmith 131, Pajemski 132, Avdia 133, Malcolm Brogdon 134. I'll take a guard here, and then in the 13th, I'll just take any random center that it probably will end up getting dropped. So, my PJ Washington boner pull. I don't know if you guys have heard that term. It's an old-fashioned term. To say pulling a boner means to make a mistake. My father's father, my late grandfather, used to say, I pulled a boner. Oh, man, did I get a giggle out of that as a kid. Do I want to go KCP or Gary Trent? I'll go Trent. I think he scores more, hits more threes. His field goal is going to be worse, but his steals are going to be solid. So Gary Trent fills up my last bench slot. And now with my last pick, whenever the hell it comes back around, I I got to just look at centers, and the choices are bad. Woo, doggy. These are some bad centers. Olynyk, Wendell Carter Jr., Andre Drummond. These are the top names. We could do something stupid and go get do something funny. We want to do something funny with the last pick just for the hell of it and go like Daniel Tice. I mean, he's technically not terrible for this build, but he's also not going to play that much. I mean, the answer to this build is Olynyk, right? You know, it has to be. And then Wendell, and then you just fill in. Then you go and fill in center at that point. Grant Williams has center eligibility, but PJ Washington doesn't? Okay. I see you. There's nobody left. There's nobody left. This is terrible. There's no one on the board. So, I mean, I'll pull up the draft room so everybody can see some of the names and faces here. This draft is effectively done. I think I've done a pretty good job in a handful of things. My team is actually roto ranked first, believe it or not. There's two teams that haven't made their 12th round pick, so that could change a bit. But free throw percent is second place. Threes is second place. Points, I've listed as fourth. I don't know that I agree with that. Rebounds, dead last. Field goal, dead last. Assists, fourth. Steals, top. Blocks, mid-pack. Turnovers, actually closer to the top than the bottom. So pretty good by all accounts. A lot to like on this club. According to the Yahoo projections, at the very least, I probably should have gone a little heavier on points and assists. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that's a low. That involves a sort of lower than projected number for someone like Amen Thompson. Poole, probably lower. But, you know, ultimately, they're not that far off. I probably needed one more guard, and I didn't take them. It's not surprising that my rebounds are terrible. I gave up on those early, so that strategy played out. Field goal percent also ended up being very bad. I leaned into that one a bit more. And like I said, you can draft Trae and Cade Cunningham and not be the worst in turnovers. The fact that I'm like better than mid-pack in that category means that my team has a shot and a better than shot. Like any team that's bad at turnovers, I'm probably going to beat them. You know, there are a bunch of teams that are really, really bad, and I am the only assist team on the board, one of two, I should say, good assist team that's also listed as good in turnovers. It's an interesting combo. Team Jose might have done a better job of going little person build with Steph, Harden, Cat, Bane, Simons, Marcus Smart, Keontae George. I don't know, man. I might just be higher on some of this stuff. We'll see. Oh, it's my turn. I guess I got to take Wendell. He's the only center left out there, so that'll just round out my team. But that pick didn't really matter. But that's where I stand on this one. We can talk about it a little bit more on social media at Dan Vespers. I think I did a pretty good job. I regretted. I don't know that I needed to go Miles Turner and be competitive in blocks, but I think it ended up working out because I got guys like Herb and OG and Amen and PJ. Who are not terrible at it and kind of brought me back into the fold in that one. But again, looking at the fourth round, there are guys that just did more. Like that would have been a spot I could have gone heavier into scoring. Like a John Morant would have been interesting there. Jimmy Butler to knock out the steals earlier. And if I knock out the steals earlier, then I don't have to go with the Herb OG pairing at 8 and 9. And I can get other stuff there, whatever that might be. Jordan Poole was too early. In the 7th round, I don't know what happened there. I probably should have set a Q. That might have been an okay spot to deal with some other deficiency. Simons wouldn't have been bad, although he and Poole are similar. Thing is, like, Yahoo doesn't think Poole's going to get many assists this year. They've got him at like 4. If he ends up running more point this season, that's a number that could definitely be higher. Probably needed to find a way to get Darius Garland in this one. And that might be the big issue, but I don't know much that I could have done there because he went like 3-4 picks before me in the 5th round. And that might be where I'm looking at my 4th round pick thinking, you know, that was a spot, probably needed to get a few more assists. And that would have been John Morant. Or hell, even Jamal Murray if you thought he survived this season, or Emmanuel Quickly or something like that. But overall, I think it went relatively well. This is your Trae Young build. That's not punt turnover. punt field goal, punt rebound, but good enough in blocks to be competitive. Pretty damn good in turnovers at the end of all of it, because I got some efficient guys who score but don't turn it over forever. And, the other assist that I got out of Dame, out of Poole, out of Amen Thompson, these guys are like, I didn't go super heavy. My bigs are not turnover guys. And the PJ Washington pick was obviously a dingus move there, because I thought he had center eligibility and he didn't. Oopsies. There are other guys that I would have gone. KCP or Gary Trent would have been the move there. And then I could have scooped up one of those last few remaining not horrendous bigs like Olynyk in the last round or the second to last round or something like that. So not a huge deal. Like last few rounds, it's not going to make or break my team, but a little bit of an oversight there, and that ended up costing me a tad. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was mock number 2, Trae Young build. I'm Dan Vespers at Dan Vespers on Twitter, at Old Man Squad. Follow the network. It'll follow you back. It's a good deal. Like, rate, subscribe, and we'll try to get one more today, but I doubt that's going to happen. So probably see you in the morning. I don't know. Figure it out as we go. Later for now.